So. Yes, so it's can you see the full screens? Okay.
Yes, we've got you. Thank you, Claudio.
Okay. Yes. Sorry, just to double check. How much time should I use before the discussion?
I think we've been going for anywhere between like 20 to 30 minutes for the presentation,
20,
leaving at
20,
least.
okay.
Yes, 20 is good.
Yeah. Okay, I will speak about the two notions, the notion of deliberation and the notion of online world, and discuss a little bit about some parameters that we are witnessing every day, especially during these 2 years of pandemics. Yeah, so that made me very easy to get the feeling to you of what is this about. So this is talked by Leandro de Brasi. He's a philosopher in the Universidad de la Frontera in Chile. And I'm Claudio Gutierrez, the speaker who works in computer science. So he should have been talking, but for a medical reason, could not be present today. And okay, so you will notice that I am a computer scientist more than a philosopher. Yeah? So this is the classical view, I mean the traditional view of deliberation. Okay, this is the Habermas Café. Yeah, a group of people that probably know each other, that that meets in a cafe to discuss, to deliberate, to exchange reasons. And much of the discussion about deliberation revolves around this implicit setting. This is what we have today. Okay, this is an assembly, a cabildo in Spanish. That's what's happening in Chile right after the uprising of the October 2019, that gave rise to the, to the organization, or to the construction of the new constitution for Chile that is taking place today. Okay, and so this is a more real deliberation of today. A lot of people from different backgrounds with different settings, probably many do not know each other, talking around something. Yeah? But things get, I don't know if better or worse, see? Online version. Okay, this is a kind of, we can think of this, a Zoom meeting as a version of online, the online version of the cafe of Habermas. Yeah. But what we really would like to have, and I will tell you about the experience that we are facing. I mean, for us, it's very real. We began this work several years ago, but during the constitutional deliberation today in Chile, things have changed drastically, and we have the online setting. Okay, this sounds like a game, but you can think that young people are using this as a space of exchange, of arguments, of reasons about some issues. Okay, my son is playing like this guy here, but in parallel he's deliberating with his friends about the political situation in Chile. This is with a platform like Discord or others. And this is an ideal setting of deliberation. You can think, what could that mean? Okay, this is a virtual choir, but could be a virtual deliberation. Yeah? Many people gathering together to discuss some topic. And so our aim here is to identify, given democratic and normative standards, some misses as well as hits in possible online deliberation design. Yeah. And we will concentrate in just two parameters at the end of the talk, the asynchronicity and anonymity. Yeah. Two things that we are witnessing today. You can think here, why people hide behind their screens? Why even in an event like this, people are not showing themselves on the screens? Yeah? That fact enriches or diminish the quality of the deliberation that we could have here in this setting. Yeah? This is a real question. Probably most of you or many of you are professors, yeah, and have witnessed what it means to have the students on black screens or to have the student present. So this is anonymity seems to be a very important issue when you move the setting of presential deliberation to online deliberation. And the other key factor is asynchronicity. Okay, so the possibility that if I talk to you now, you don't have to answer me, you don't have to exchange with me. Perhaps you can take it and probably you will check the facts that I am talking about on internet with your friends or with other people, and then come back. And then come back. And so the presential, I mean the presential deliberation mixes a lot of variables. In this case, mix synchronicity and identity. Yeah, we will essentially in this talk analyze these two variables. How do they behave online, and if they really brings advantage or disadvantage to the deliberation setting. Mm-hmm. And we will focus on one aspect of the deliberative argumentation, that is reciprocity. Yeah, as you know, deliberative argumentation has many parameters. Mm-hmm. So this is the agenda. I will go faster over the three first topics. I mean, just to present or to agree on the basic terms of what deliberation means for us, public sphere, and the idea of reciprocity. And then I will go to the core of our contribution, that is the analysis of online deliberation and possible designs. Okay, deliberative democracy. As everybody knows, a pivotal component of democracy is the free exchange of reasons and information in an attempt to argue with each other about what we collectively should do. Democracy can then be thought as consisting in the attempt to collectively determine via public deliberation the policies and actions that enjoy the support of our better reasons. Yeah? One can take this deliberation to be the source of legitimacy of political decisions. And I will give a prime example of this. Is something that we are living here in Chile, is the writing of a new constitution. So here are 20 million people, our population, supposedly deliberating to design a new way of life. How can we do that? Yeah, the online and the virtual setting helps. In what sense? Has these advantages? So I have to confess you that this is a real topic today. So we are discussing this today. Yeah? The rules of the constitution, the constitutionalist, no, the people that were elected for the constitution to write the constitution. I don't know the name of them, the technical name. Decided there were about 5 or 6 ways in which people should participate. I mean, everybody could understand that today nobody will accept that you elect a body to write the constitution. This body, like the old Vatican, tradition, joins in closed room, and then white. After some time they deliver their conclusions. No, people are asking to have an exchange with the people online, direct. Not necessarily digital, but as you know, in our case, we have a very bad scenario for that, because I don't know if everybody knows how is Chile. Chile is a very long and thin country, yeah, that goes almost from the equator to the Antarctic. So it's impossible to have people delegate people to join in some places. We have to do something different. Okay. The deliberative procedure is an argumentative exchange of reason and information among people who introduce and critically test proposals, okay? Reasons and informations, which is inclusive and public, and where all the affected by the issue have equal chance to participate. This is crucial. Equal chance to participate. It's not only the expert, not only the learned, so it's everybody. Which is free of external constraint, and the participants are only bound by the presuppositions of communications and rule of argumentation, whatever it means. Which is equally free from internal constraint to the extent that every participant has the same opportunity to be heard when making contribution to the debate. And this is something really, really complex, okay? How you can hear 20 million people? Yeah? It's impossible, or is possible? Is there any way to do that, to really achieve that in reality? Since that the online world helps a lot in this direction, but has a lot of disadvantage too. Deliberative argumentation is the process by which individuals weigh the epistemic merits of competing reasons in discussion together. The epistemic benefits of this sort of interpersonal argumentation compared to a personal one has been widely noticed. For example, we are not more likely to detect errors due to different cognitive skills, counteract and neutralize cognitive biases, and reduce motivated reasoning. For these benefits to realize, or to be realized, a certain reciprocity needs to be instantiated. Yeah? And the notion of reciprocity essentially talks about argumentation to involve a back and forth line of reasoning, see, that can allow the enforced force of the better argument to prevail. Yeah, it requires interactional, two-way communicative exchange of reasons. In this sense, the deliberative argumentation is a reciprocal process. In democratic deliberation is to be a dialogue in which we really address each other's reasons, as opposed to a series of rather disjoint monologues. Deliberators need not only listen widely, but also listen carefully. And so we are going to, to test these two properties of the reciprocity of deliberation, listen widely and listen carefully, in the presential and the online world. And seems that there are some difference in this direction. So let me talk about the online deliberation. Online is a very polysemic and vague notion. Yeah? The online has become as complex and subtle as deliberation itself. Usually the term is used as antonym of offline, of presential, meaning an activity done by means or using internet technologies understood as communication media. Examples of this include social networks, media sharing platforms, discussion and new forums, academic and content network, blogging and publishing, and many deliberation platforms, for example, Decidim, Consul, and other ones that are being used in different constitutional processes around the world. I just would like to add here some issue here. The title of our workshop is a epistemology on the of the internet. Yeah, and what could ask, why internet? Yeah? Why not the web? Internet is the underlying infrastructure of cables, of wires, and internet usually has a protocol. And if one could say what's the power of internet, yeah, is essentially communication. Yeah? But if you go one step further and you consider the web as such, yeah, the web is essentially a universal platform for sharing information, for sharing memories, and for exchanging information too. Yeah. So there are some difference, and so the online world deserves to be better conceptualized for this discussion on deliberation, because it's not evident which one is the feature or the functionality we are addressing when speaking about the vague notion of online. I just would like to make aware everybody that there is a polysemy there, and there could be several interpretations about this vague notion of online. We don't have time here to go in deep about that. The online deliberation here is taken to encompass deliberation taking place in both applications and tools designed specifically to achieve online discussions, as well as deliberation performed in virtual spaces designed originally for other purposes, social networks, social media, online press. There are platforms that are designed to perform deliberation, but people, as the example I put you of my son, uses other platforms for deliberating, yeah, that are not designed for that. The apparently clear notion of online hides the subtle particularities of different technologies that become substantial when considering the notion of online deliberation. For example, degrees of interactivity, centralization, type of media support, etc. Thus, the analysis of the online requires meticulous and attention to the technologies involved. Here are some of the new dimensions opened by the online world. First, the copresence and co-temporality beyond geography and time. I mean, we could not be talking here, or we could not be gathering here with you if the online world didn't exist. Yeah. So here we have co-presence, or I mean, presence in quote, whatever it means. I mean, visual presence, but some feeling of presence. But definitely we have co-temporality. Yeah, I could not say, okay, good morning to you, because probably for you is good afternoon, and for some other people is good evening. But there is co-temporality in timing. There is diversity and flexibility of media formats. Yeah, we can not only share, as our friends in the Habermas Cafe in the picture, probably sound, I mean language, spoken language, and photos or static media. We can share here many things: images, links, videos, and many other types of media and formats. There are some dimensions that usually in the small setting, deliberation is not taking, that is moderation. Yeah, usually in an assembly, in a presential assembly, you have moderation, because I mean, beyond 20, 30 people, you need somebody that directs, gives the floor, etc. But here we can go even further. We could have some forms of semi-automated moderation. And our two stars features here, I mean star for us, I'm not saying that the other one have no importance, is anonymity and asynchronicity. Yeah, and especially anonymity is a very difficult one to realize in practice. I mean, you cannot imagine an assembly one with, I mean, with hats or whatever. I mean, there are parties that people get some feature of anonymity, but it's very uncommon in the presential world, anonymity in a deliberation. But on the web, it's very common. And the question is why? Why anonymity is a feature? What gives you, in some sense, what takes away from the discussion? And the other thing is asynchronicity that is really common in today's discussion. Is you with a colleague, is when one meets a colleague and start discussing something in a conference, in a workshop, in a synchronic way, it's very common. But today, usually all those discussions are asynchronic. You send a mail, you read the mail, you answer the mail 2 hours after that, and you continue in that way. So that means these are the two parameters we are going to analyze. Well, I have 5 minutes. Okay, I will go fast. And then anonymity and asynchronicity, let me define it more precisely. Is anonymity technically is the non-coordinability of traits in a given respect. In a given respect. That is the inability to relate or link a given feature or person, say her opinion, to another of her features, say her race or gender. In this regard, anonymity is not socially unknowability. This is very important to stress. Yeah. For example, someone withdrawn from society, but an enabler of social relationship where certain features of individual are inaccessible. Yeah. Especially anonymity, we will see that has a lot of positive features for discussion, but has some withdrawals also. And asynchronicity is a process, is an exchange where timing is differ for some protocols and whose effect cannot happen immediately. Synchronous communication is the simultaneous delivery and reception of messages, usually understood as face-to-face. So there are, if we have two features, elementary combinatorics indicate that there are 4 alternative designs, and I will go fast over this because probably at this point you have already an idea of this. The Stanford Online platform, all of these were tested with arguments and with some data against the Stanford Online platform as baseline. Yeah. I don't know if all of you know that is intended to provide an online simulation of the online deliberation that takes place with deliberative polls. In fact, deliberative polls were defined in the current constitutional process in Chile as one of the features of the deliberation. I mean, among these 5 or 6 that I mentioned, these deliberative polls are one of them. It's designed to enforce speaking queue so that every participant has a chance to voice their views for a limited length of time and to transcribe the active speaker in real time and monitor for offensive content. There is a semi-automated moderation. Deliberation takes place within a small, medium-sized group where people are randomly chosen. This is another key feature of this process. Yeah. Deliberators are normally strangers to each other, though identifiable, and participate via video conferencing in a synchronous way. Yeah. So essentially, you take from a population with some parameters a random sample, join them, and make them speak together under a moderator that then, for some semi-automatic ways, translate the contents and make some conclusions. Okay. Okay, we are somewhat critical of this. I advanced, but so the first one is identification synchronization. I mean, remember, we are comparing 2 parameters: synchronicity and anonymity. Okay, so here is, we don't have anonymity and we have synchronicity. Can be friendly to people with hearing and sight impediments, yeah, so to facilitate the reception. A significant disadvantage with regard to both listening widely and listening carefully is expected. In particular, there exists the manifest risk of performance decrement due to the multitasking that online distractor might trigger. In the offline version, the eyes of the other participant as well as the moderator police one's attention. One is socially expected to pay attention to both widely and carefully, and a violation of expectation reflect badly on oneself. This is the idea of having the face-to-face meeting, essentially. Yeah. The second one is when we have identification. We have thing of face-to-face presential, but we have asynchronicity. Yeah. So here we can mitigate the effects of the distraction caused by the digital local physical environments. So if I talk too fast or I talk a really bad English, as you can witness, you can reread or re-listen afterwards when you have time, or you have, you can share with other people, and and get the message afterwards. Participants can go through the contribution of other participants many times as wish, check information, reflect their own about the issue presented. If one is distracted, one can, in principle, go back and listen to the contribution missed. Usually, students today, if you ask them, like very much the lecture classes, recorded, because they usually hear them or view them afterwards. They advance fast the boring parts and they go to the important parts. Evidence suggests that the participants in asynchronous discussion are far more reflective, frank, and willing to discuss sensitive issues than in live face-to-face versions. Things of delicate issues, religious issues, sexual issues, and all topics that are very, very complicated to discuss synchronically in direct. Then we have the other setting, that's anonymity but synchronous. Yeah. With anonymity, prejudice can, depending on the medium exploited, say text or video, be more or less reduced. This is due to the fact that we normally consider the trustworthiness of the source before considering the testimony and argument offered by them. This is important, especially with gender bias, with ethnical bias, and so on. Yeah, if you don't know who is in the other side, you will have to listen to the arguments. Yeah, if you are interested in engaging in the conversation. And you intentionally avoid the bias or implicit bias that you could have against some possible features of your of some member of the group. Anonymity can help focus on what's said rather than who says it. And communicative accountability can be enforced without reducing prejudice interference with the use of pseudonyms that allow for stable online identities and allow that the different contributions of participants be identified. Again, it's important to say that anonymity is not the same as unknowability. Yeah? Anonymity speaks about hidden some features of the body or the voice or whatever. Yeah. And finally, is anonymity and asynchronicity the best of both worlds? Yeah. Online deliberation should not be viewed as an enhanced version of what works best in the offline world. This is very important. Yeah. With regard to the reciprocity required for democratic deliberation, what works best in the online case differs significantly from the natural and design offline cases. Yeah, and virtual world and democracy, there are optimists and pessimists. Yeah, and some very important issues, the scaling up problems. Yeah, it's not the same as statewide online deliberation versus a cafe deliberation. At least one sort of online deliberation, small, medium size, that combines the two design features for anonymity and asynchronicity is likely to better promote, in our opinion, the reciprocity required for democratic deliberation. Thanks.
Thank you.